Welcome back everyone, it's Stace from Varnish Software and this is 2-Minute Tech Tuesdays. In this week's episode, we'll carry on talking about authentication and authorization. In last week's episode, we talked about basic authentication. In this week's episode, we'll introduce JSON Web Tokens or JWT. There's a lot to be said about JWT, so we'll start in this week's episode with the essentials and how Varnish can handle them, and in next week's episode, we'll take it to the next level. So let's get introduced to JSON Web Tokens, and I'll put 2 minutes on the timer and tell you all about it. JSON Web Tokens is an open standard that defines a compact and self-contained way for securely transmitting information between parties as a JSON object. JWT operates in an authorization context and is issued after authentication. This is what a JSON Web Token looks like. It has a header, it has payload information and a signature, and that cryptographic signature guarantees the integrity of the payload. But in fact, this data is nothing more than base 64 encoded JSON, so when we decode the different blocks, this is the information that you get. There is the header that contains the algorithm and the type. If the algorithm contains HS256, that means the signature is signed with an HMAC signature using SHA-256 encoding. It could also be RS-256 if we're using private and public keys. The payload is a JSON object that contains a collection of claims. These claims are readable by the client and have reserved names such as the subject, the issuer, the expiration time, the issued at time, and the not valid before time. You can also add your own claims, but be careful with the size. The bigger you make them, the bigger the size of the token over the wire, and please also ensure that these tokens don't contain secrets that shouldn't be visible to the client. Because the algorithm in our header was HS256, we're using an HMAC signature encoded with SHA-256 encoding. We use the header and the payload, both base 64 URL encoded, and sign this with a secret key. This key should only be known by the issuer and the validator of the token, and it also guarantees that the data cannot be tampered with. Besides the JWT being readable by the client to extract information from the claims, it can also be used to get access to restricted resources. You can pass the JWT in an authorization header by using the bearer keyword. Varnish can handle JSON Web Tokens through vmod JWT in Varnish Enterprise. It can both issue new tokens, modify tokens, but also read and verify tokens. Today in this video, we'll only read from the JWT. Here's some VCL code. The first thing we do is import the JWT vmod and initialize a JSON Web Token reader object. This object can be used to parse the JWT that is fetched from the authorization header, more specifically the part that sits next to the bearer keyword. If that is invalid JWT, a synthetic 401 invalid token is returned. In the next step, we'll check the integrity of the JWT by matching it to the secret key and by checking if the algorithm matches. If that is not the case, again we return a synthetic 401 with an invalid token message, but if it is valid, you can carry on and view that restricted resource. That was our first introduction to JSON Web Tokens and how vmod JWT can validate them. In next week's episode, we'll take it up a notch and we'll use Varnish as an authentication gateway to issue JWTs after authentication and also to verify them and extract information. So stay tuned for next week's episode and thank you for watching this one.